sun. The skin of my belly touched my backbone too. If I urinated or evacuated my bowels, I fell over on my face there. If I tried to ease my body by rubbing my limbs with my hands, the hair, rotted at its roots, fell away from my body as I rubbed. But by those observances, the practice of difficult feats, I did not gain the noble understanding that leads the meditator to the complete exhaustion of suffering.
Sarnat.
Turning the wheel of Dhamma. After tasting the nectar of liberation and developing infinite compassion in his heart, the Buddha felt he wanted to share his discovery with the world. The first people to come to his mind were his former teachers, Alara Kalama and Uddaka Ramaputta. He knew that if anyone could understand his message, it would be those two. Using his psychic abilities to find their whereabouts, the Buddha saw that they had both recently passed away. Next then in his mind was the group of 5 ascetics, Kondanya, Badya, Vapa, Asaji, and Mahanama. Rather than dwelling on the fact that they had abandoned him, the Buddha only thought about how they'd helped him during his intense and difficult training. Through the power of his divine eye, the Buddha saw that they were living in Isipatan at the deer park, a royally protected area for animals to graze without fear and for religious mendicants to meditate without disturbance. On his way to Isipatana, the Buddha met a few individuals, such as the ascetic Ajivaka Upaka, who recognized by the Buddha's clear and radiant appearance that he was no ordinary person. None of these people, however, was curious or competent enough to comprehend the Dhamma at the time. Nonetheless, these meetings did plant seeds that would sprout when these fortunate beings encountered the Dhamma in the future. They would become attracted to it, practice it, and realize the ultimate truth. On the full moon day of Asala, the Buddha reached Isipatana. Seeing him approach in the distance, the Panchavagya made an agreement among themselves to let the Buddha sit with them as a fellow Sakya clansman, but not to greet him with folded hands or take his bowl and robe, as was the custom amongst recluses. In their minds, Siddhartha had abandoned the holy life and reverted back to a life of luxury. However, as the radiant Buddha came closer and closer to their circle, each of them forgot their pledge. They stood up to meet him, took his robe and bowl, and prepared water to wash his feet. The Buddha told his friends of his experience at Bodh Gaya and promised that if they practiced in the same way, they too would attain emancipation. Initially, they doubted his claim. The Buddha counter-questioned them. "You are my Sakyan clansman. You know me well. Have you ever known me to lie?" They admitted that they had not, and agreed to listen to what he had to say. With complete spiritual authority, the Buddha began his famous first discourse, setting the wheel of Dhamma in motion. His voice was filled with confidence, and his manner was serene. Everything he said was based on his direct experience alone, not on any scriptures or hearsay. Bhikkhus, those walking on the path of purification, should avoid 2 extremes. self-indulgence, and self-affliction. Plunging into sensual pleasures makes one lazy. Depriving the body of its basic needs wastes one's energy. Both these extremes lead to failure. Therefore, bhikkhus, you must walk along a middle path. Bhikkhus, there are 4 noble truths: the existence of suffering, the arising of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. Now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of suffering. Birth is suffering. Aging is suffering. Sickness is suffering. Death is suffering. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair are suffering. Association with the unpleasant is suffering. Separation from the pleasant is suffering. Not getting what one wants is suffering. In short, clinging to the 5 aggregates is suffering. And this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the arising of suffering. Craving, accompanied by overindulgence, lust and relishing, produces renewal of being. In other words, the arising of suffering is craving for sensual pleasures, craving for being, and craving for non-being. And this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. Suffering fades, stops, and no longer remains when that same craving is renounced, relinquished, let go of, and rejected. And this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the method of practice leading to the cessation of suffering. It is precisely the noble eightfold path: right view, right thoughts, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right awareness, and right concentration. By the end of this profound, world-transforming discourse, Kondanya, the oldest of the 5 in years and in wisdom, grasped the meaning of the Buddha's words and attained the first stage of enlightenment. Love, compassion, goodwill and peace reigned within the old meditator's heart.